Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going in-depth into my must-draft quarterbacks for the 2022 fantasy football season. Inside of today's video, I'll be going in-depth into 5 different quarterbacks who I believe should be must-draft targets for your 2022 fantasy football drafts, as well as for your best ball drafts. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help us out a ton. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at Notorious FNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into my must-draft quarterbacks for the 2022 fantasy football season, as well as for your best ball draft. So we will begin earlier in the draft. So these quarterbacks are in order of their average draft position. The first player to talk about here, Kyler Murray, underdog ADP, quarterback number 5. The last player's ADP is going to be quarterback 29. So we're going to go later into the draft as the video goes on. So first player, Kyler Murray, quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals. Like I said, quarterback 5 based upon current underdog ADP. In my opinion, I would be very comfortable in a normal one quarterback draft taking Kyler Murray in the 5th round. I think that that is going to be pretty normal for where Kyler Murray ends up going, so I don't think I would be reaching at that point inside of the 5th round. Obviously, all drafts are different. There's going to be some drafts where multiple quarterbacks go inside the 1st round for no reason, and in that case, Kyler Murray may not fall to the 5th round, but in a majority of drafts, I really do believe he would in a one quarterback league. Now, there is going to definitely be some people that right now, once I said Kyler Murray's name, based upon what has been going on with Kyler Murray's situation, they may be a little bit nervous because there are reports that Kyler Murray is not going to be playing in the 2022 NFL season unless his contract demands are made. Could that be true? Could that end up happening? Maybe. But if that is something that is genuinely on the board that Kyler Murray and his agent are pushing for, I have a very strong suspicion that Kyler Murray is going to get some type of a deal done to where he is good to go in week number 1. There's going to be people making jokes about, since Kyler Murray played baseball, that he's just going to go fucking play in the MLB instead of playing in the NFL as the Cardinals quarterback. I highly doubt that. I really do personally believe that Kyler Murray is going to be the starting quarterback on the team for the Arizona Cardinals for week number 1, and I would be very shocked if that was not the case. I understand some people may just dismiss all of this news that is happening, but I figured I would bring it up since it was popping off pretty hard on Twitter yesterday. In 2021, Kyler Murray played in 14 games, finishing as the quarterback 10 on the season, but he was the quarterback number 4 in points per game. The biggest reason as to why I bring up the points per game finish compared to the regular season finish at the end of the year is because, to me, the points per game number is the most important. Kyler Murray didn't play all 17 games, but if he did, he would have finished significantly higher than quarterback 10 because on a per-game basis, he was the quarterback 4. To me, the points per game number is way more important when assessing quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, or tight ends. It's very important at every position when compared to looking at their finish on the season. On the season, he had 481 passing attempts, which is 34.4 per game, 19th at the quarterback position, 3,787 passing yards, 270.5 per game, 14th at quarterback. He had a 69.2 completion percentage. Very nice. I like. 24 passing touchdowns at a 5.0% rate. 12th at quarterback. 10 interceptions. He had 88 carries, 4th at quarterback, 423 rushing yards, 4th, and 5 total rushing touchdowns, 4th at the quarterback position. So he had 28 total touchdowns on the year. Now, that 5.0% passing touchdown rate is something that is very important in my book. Now, trying to project how many touchdowns a given player is going to get at any given position is very difficult, aside from a couple of players who you know are just locks to get 10 plus touchdowns like Mike Evans, or guys that probably aren't going to score a lot of touchdowns like Julio Jones. But when you're in the middle there, it's pretty difficult to predict how many touchdowns a quarterback is going to throw. Now, when a quarterback is at a 5% rate, which is exactly where Kyler Murray is at, I don't expect his numbers to drastically change on a year-in, year-out standpoint because I believe 5% to be a very basic number. If Kyler Murray was to have thrown 3.9% passing touchdown rate, then I would personally believe that that number is bound to go up because that is way too low. But say there's the opposite end of the spectrum, and say Kyler Murray throws 6.9 or 6.2% touchdown rate, then I'm going to come here and tell you guys that that is fucking ridiculous. That number is going to go back down to earth. Thus, he is most likely going to be throwing less touchdowns in 2022. But based upon what we see here at a 5% rate, I think anywhere from, obviously, we're going to expect him to play more games, so he's going to be closer to 30 passing touchdowns, but 34 passing touchdowns. To me, that would seem very normal to what I believe Kyler Murray could do in a 17-game season. So Kyler Murray is one of those quarterbacks that you can nickname as a Konami code quarterback, which is something that is a very huge topic in fantasy football, and in my opinion, is pretty close to vital, essential when I'm drafting a quarterback early in fantasy football drafts. What a Konami code quarterback is a quarterback that has a lot of rushing upside, a lot of rushing ability, because in fantasy football, rushing quarterbacks have a very strong advantage. In most leagues, it is 4 points per passing touchdown, but if you rush it in as a quarterback, you don't get 4 points, you get 6 points. If you pass the ball for 25 yards in most leagues, that is 1 point. But if you rush the ball 10 yards, you get 1 point. So these quarterbacks that are able to get the rushing touchdowns, the rushing yards, are getting a very strong advantage, and Kyler Murray fits the bill. He could be the quarterback in 2022 that gets the most rushing yards. Am I going to bet my house on that? No, but I'm definitely saying that it is entirely possible that he could potentially get over 800 or 900 rushing yards. So with all of that said, I am very confident in Kyler Murray. I do believe he is going to play next season. I'm not buying super heavily into these rumors, so I like Kyler Murray a ton. Quarterback 5 right now via Underdog ADP, which is the sponsor of today's video, and I think that that is a very fair spot to draft him at, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was the #1 quarterback in all of fantasy football. And speaking of our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, is known for their NFL best ball tournaments. However, Underdog doesn't stop there. Underdog has plenty of other contests for you to compete in, including live draft contests and pick'ems, in which you can make up to 20 times your entry fee. Use promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO, on your screen right now. Promo code Awesemo to get a first match deposit bonus of up to $100. Get on started on Underdog Fantasy today. There's also a link in the video description to Underdog Fantasy with our code, so you don't even have to put it in. So the next quarterback to discuss here is old man Tampa Bay Tom Brady, quarterback of the Buccaneers. Underdog ADP, quarterback number 9. Personally, I would be very comfortable taking Tom Brady in like the 8th or 9th round. Now, a strategy of mine in fantasy football in best ball drafts is typically to wait on quarterbacks. The reason why I still talked about Kyler Murray in today's video is because he is kind of the odd man out inside of the top 4, and I really think that he could be the best quarterback in fantasy football, and you're getting him at a discount, in my opinion, inside the 5th round. For Tom Brady, the 8th, 9th round would be the sweet spot to go ahead and pick him up. Now, we did just discuss in depth the Konami code quarterback, and Tom Brady is the exact opposite of the reason why I like Kyler Murray. I like Kyler Murray because he's a solid passer, but he also has some very big rushing upside. Tom Brady has no rushing upside at all. Last year, he had 28 carries for 81 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Basically, the only time he's ever running the ball is when he's a yard away, when they're on the 1-yard line, right? Tom Brady isn't just going to go ahead and bust off a 30-yard run, juke some DB out of his socks, and score a touchdown, right? That's just not Tom Brady. But what Tom Brady is going to do in Tampa Bay is throw a ridiculous number of passes, throw for a zillion yards, and 1 million touchdowns. In 2021, 17 games, quarterback 3 on the season, quarterback 3 in points per game, 719 passing attempts, 42.3 per game, #1 at quarterback, 5,316 passing yards, 312.7 per game, #1 at quarterback. Now, I understand they did switch head coaches, but I think that might be a positive for Tom Brady because it appears that he didn't like Bruce Arians. Now, am I in the situation? No. Do I know that for sure? No, I just feel as though, based upon what I have looked at, that Tom Brady wasn't in love with Bruce Arians. 67.5% completion percentage for Mr. Old Man Tom Brady, 43 passing touchdowns, 6.0% rate, #1 at quarterback, 12 interceptions, and like I said, 81 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. So Tom Brady's touchdown rate was at 6.0. Maybe that falls back down to earth and gets closer to 5. even if that is said, with how much this motherfucker throws the football, he could still throw 40 plus passing touchdowns in 2022. Now, there is always the chance that the age-old question of when will Tom Brady fall off, that actually happens in 2022. But people have been making this argument that this is going to finally be the year that Tampa Bay Tom Brady or New England Patriots Tom Brady is going to fall off, and it never fucking happens. Now, I'm not here to give the metaphorical gawk to Tom Brady. I'm not. But what I'm telling you is that I don't think you can ever project this motherfucker to fall off. He retired because he didn't like Bruce Arians. Seemed like maybe there's a lot of reports that maybe wanted to be the Dolphins quarterback. They were going to bring Sean Payton there. None of that ended up happening, but he's back in Tampa Bay. And he is still in a very good situation offensively to succeed. And now I think he probably had a very high stranglehold over what was happening offensively for the Bucs. Maybe now that is even higher. Maybe he has an even tighter stranglehold now over the Buccaneers offense. I expect him to succeed yet again. Again, he has like zero rushing upside, but it doesn't fucking matter when you're throwing the ball as much as old man Tom Brady. Next up, we move to Jalen Hurts, quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, underdog ADP quarterback number 12. I would be very comfortable taking him around the same area as Tom Brady in like the 8th, 9th, 10th round, depending on where he falls. In 2021, Jalen Hurts played in 15 games, finishing as the quarterback number 9 on the season and quarterback number 6 in points per game, tied with the MVP of the league, Aaron Rodgers. Mr. Discount double check. He had 432 passing attempts, 28.8 per game, ranking 21st at the quarterback position, 3,144 passing yards, 209.6 per game, 21st, a 61.3% completion percentage, 16 passing touchdowns, at a 3.7% rate, 23rd at quarterback, 9 interceptions. But the reason why we like Jalen Hurts is for the rushing upside. 140 carries, number 1 at quarterback, 782 rushing yards, number 1 at quarterback, 10 rushing touchdowns. You guessed it, number 1 at quarterback. Now, the 3.7% touchdown rate tells me that things are going to go up for Jalen Hurts. Am I here claiming Jalen Hurts is going to throw 30-plus touchdowns? No, that seems very high for a quarterback of Jalen Hurts' skill set. Could it happen? Definitely. Anything could happen in the NFL. Anything could happen. Jalen Reagor has sucked complete and utter donkey cock in terms of fantasy football for years, and maybe this year, Jalen Reagor is the best receiver in the NFL, right? Because anything can happen. Anything can happen, but that would be a outlier outcome. That would be it's like an out of this world outcome. That's never going to happen, but Jalen Hurts could definitely throw 30 passing touchdowns. I just wouldn't expect it. I would expect that number to be around 20 touchdowns, and that's good if he's able to get 7, 8, 9 rushing touchdowns. He had 10 rushing touchdowns last year, so that is easily obtainable for Jalen Hurts. I personally believe in the draft, they are going to get another wide receiver. Now, there's also rumors that they might trade for Deebo Samuel. How reliable are those rumors? You never really know. You never really know, and I'm not going to draft Jalen Hurts off the assumption that they get Deebo Samuel because that's a little ridiculous. But still, we are in a situation where Jalen Hurts has played well. Jalen Hurts isn't this schlub quarterback, but it seems like everyone in Philadelphia is giving him this one last ride scenario. Like, this is your last fucking chance, pal. If you end up screwing this up, if you don't play phenomenally, your ass is grass. That's what it seems like. Now, for fantasy football, Jalen Hurts is great. Is Jalen Hurts this elite-level quarterback? I don't think so. I don't think he will ever be that. Do I think he deserves an NFL starting job? Of course. Of course. And there are teams in the NFL that wish they had Jalen Hurts. So I think that Jalen Hurts, in terms of fantasy football, which is the whole point of this video, we're talking about fantasy football, we're talking about best ball. I love Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has the upside to, via just rushing the ball, put your entire team on his back on a day where he might have 2 rushing touchdowns and rush for 70 or 80 yards. And that is definitely in the wheelhouse. That is definitely in the possibilities of outcomes in any given game for Jalen Hurts. Will he definitely finish as the number 1 quarterback in all those rushing metrics, which were carries, rushing yards, and rushing touchdowns? Maybe, maybe not, right? Because Lamar Jackson. There is also Jalen Hurts. There's Kyler Murray. There's other quarterbacks that can do it. There's other quarterbacks that can be number one in rushing. If Josh Allen played every game like it was the NFL playoffs, he might lead the league in rushing at the running back position. So there's definitely other guys that can do it. So I'm not saying that you need to bet your house on the fact that Jalen Hurts is going to do that, but it is definitely possible, and that really upgrades the potential of Jalen Hurts on a given season. I think the Eagles are going to get slightly better in the draft. I think they're going to play a little bit better this season, and I think Jalen Hurts will be able to take just another leap forward and finish as a top 10 fantasy quarterback, getting drafted outside of the top 12 on Underdog right now. It's disgusting. He should not be going that late, in my opinion. Next up, we move to Derek Carr, quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders. Underdog ADP quarterback number 15. I would personally feel comfortable taking Derek Carr a couple rounds later than Hurts, Brady, probably around like round 12. Now, again, there's going to be leagues and there's going to be best ball drafts where motherfuckers are taking 2 quarterbacks before you even select one. And in that scenario, then maybe you won't even end up getting Derek Carr in the 12th round because so many quarterbacks went. That does happen. That definitely does happen. But I'm talking about in a normal competitive league, I think that in around the 12th round, especially in a redraft league, that is definitely very plausible for where Derek Carr goes. Now, when it comes to just saying the name Derek Carr, there are going to be people that believe that Derek Carr is the definition of mid. Meaning, this guy is just the most basic quarterback. Like, when you think of quarterback that's just all right, not a guy that's necessarily this big game player, but he's also likely not going to just completely fuck everything up. That's just Derek Carr to most people. Now, I think Derek Carr's a little bit better than that. I think Derek Carr could potentially be a top 10 fantasy quarterback. Now, the biggest issue with Derek Carr is that he's more like Tom Brady than he is like Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts. And when I say that, I mean that I don't think that he is one of those quarterbacks that has the ability to be number 1 or number 2 at all these rushing stats, the quarterback position. Basically impossible. Last year he had 40 carries, 108 yards, no touchdowns. Maybe he gets like 2-3 touchdowns, right, on the 1 yard line. But most of the time they get there, they're just going to jam it in with Josh Jacobs. So in 2021, playing in 17 games for the Raiders, he finished as quarterback 14 on the season, quarterback 19 in points per game, tied with Danny Dimes, Danny Fumbles, Danny Stumbles, Daniel Jones. 626 passing attempts, 36.8 per game, ranking 5th at QB, 68.4% completion percentage, 0.6% off of being very nice, I like, with 69, 4,804 passing yards, 282.6 per game, ranking 5th, 23 passing touchdowns, 3.7% rate, 13th at quarterback, 14 interceptions, not great, and again, 40 carries, 108 yards, no rushing touchdowns. So 3.7% rate. Again, can I 100% guarantee that this number is going to go up to 5? No, but I believe that when you have a quarterback with this skill set that I believe that Derek Carr has, he's going to get closer to 5. They bring in Davante Adams, who is a humongous touchdown threat for the Raiders. Now, some people are going to be on the standpoint, which I have barely seen, but there definitely are people, maybe you watching the video thinks this, that Davante Adams was created, molded by Mr. Discount Double Check Aaron Rodgers. That the reason why Davante Adams was so fucking good was because of Aaron Rodgers. Do I believe that Davante Adams is guaranteed to put up the same numbers he's put up in Green Bay, in Las Vegas? No, I don't believe that. But I do believe that Davante Adams is good enough to do it with Derek Carr. He played great with Derek Carr in college. They went to the same college. This is a Raiders offense that on paper looks pretty fucking good. They have Davante Adams. They have Hunter Renfrow. They have Darren Waller. They have some other pieces as well. I'm not going to go ahead and say they've got like the deepest wide receiver core ever or something, but those 3 pieces alone are pretty solid. Josh Jacobs is a guy that I don't like in fantasy football. He's not a very appeasing fantasy football running back because he doesn't really get that many targets. But Derrick Henry is really good in fantasy, and he doesn't really catch the ball. Yeah, well, there's a difference between Derrick fucking Henry and Josh Jacobs. Now, again, not that Josh Jacobs is a bad player. He's actually a good player. He's just not great in fantasy. That might be kind of difficult to understand, but because he doesn't get a lot of receptions, he's just never going to be great in fantasy unless he gets a million rushing touchdowns. Derek Carr is a good quarterback. They have a good team. I just think they have a good offense. They're in a tough division. They're in a division where in order to win these games, you are going to have to hop in the boat and start racing. These are going to be very high-scoring games in the AFC West. They just have to be. You got Derek Carr. You got Russell Wilson. You got Justin Herbert, the pervert. You got Pat Mahomes. It's going to be a difficult division, but I think Derek Carr is going to be able to keep up with them. I think the Raiders are going to be able to keep up with them, and I think Derek Carr is going to surprise a lot of people who think this guy's just dog shit, because there are definitely people that believe that. Final quarterback to discuss in today's video. Before we do that, make sure that if you have ended up enjoying this far, you hit that subscribe button down below if you are new, and if you're not new, head on down there, leave a like, and comment down below. Who's your favorite must-draft quarterback inside of best ball? You might want to say Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes. That's not as fun. Not as fun in my book. But you can, because they're obviously pretty solid players, right? That's why they get drafted so highly. So Matt Ryan is my final player to discuss. Of now, the Indianapolis Colts quarterback 21 based upon current underdog ADP. I'd be comfortable picking him in one of the last picks, probably the last pick, right? YOLO pick on Matt Ryan, but it's not really a YOLO pick. But he's not a guy that I'm going to be like locked and loaded top 10 quarterback. I'm just not going to say that. 2021 stats, 17 games played, quarterback 19 on the season, which is all right. But he was quarterback 30 in points per game, tied with Mono Man Sam Darnold. 560 passing attempts, 32.9 per game, ranking 11th at quarterback. 67 completion percentage, pretty solid. 3,968 passing yards, 11th at quarterback, 233.4 per game. 20 passing touchdowns, another low rate at 3.6. Might have to hit up Aaron Rodgers to get that Rodgers rate. 17th at quarterback, 12 interceptions, 40 carries, 82 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Matt Ryan is with the Derek Carr, the Tom Brady of just virtually no rushing upside. Might get a touchdown, might get 2 touchdowns, might even luck into getting 3 touchdowns. But again, that's all based on luck, right? But luck, the Colts. Okay, sorry. So, Matt Ryan is one of those quarterbacks that is interesting, because a couple of years ago, he was the MVP of the NFL. A couple of years ago, and the Falcons were looking like they were on this fucking rocket ship to stardom. Like they should have won the Super Bowl if they didn't choke. If you're a Falcons fan, I'm sorry to hammer that in you, but you shouldn't have choked that game. You should have easily won. They looked like they were going to be solid. They just haven't lived back up to that. They get rid of Matt Ryan and bring him to Indianapolis. Now in Indianapolis last year, I drafted Carson Wentz in best ball, but I wasn't excited about it. You know what? He's on the Colts. They have a pretty solid foundation around him. They have these receivers. They've got Michael Pittman, who could be fantastic. That's what I'm thinking last year. Could be fantastic. They've got Jonathan Taylor, who, if healthy, that was a concern to begin the season, if you guys remember. If healthy, could really help out Carson Wentz. They have T.Y. Hilton. They have these other pieces that are around him that could make him successful. And Carson Wentz he's basically the definition of mid. He's mid. He sucks. He couldn't fucking beat. Now, he's not even mid. He sucks. He couldn't beat the goddamn fucking Jaguars to go to the playoffs. That's why his ass is grass, and he's been on 3 different teams in the last 3 years. Carson Wentz lost it. He doesn't have it anymore. He doesn't. And I'm not sitting here like Colin Cowherd yelling at the fucking microphone like Skip Bayless and just debating for no reason, saying shit for no fucking reason. I say that Carson Wentz sucks because I think he does. I don't think Carson Wentz has it anymore. He lost it a bunch of years ago. He just does not have it. He doesn't have it. But you want to know who does have it? Mr. Matty Ice in the fucking veins, Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan, Matty Snapback, still got it. Nope, that's Matthew Stafford. But Matt Ryan, Matt Ice, he still got it. He still got it in my book. He's in a great position to succeed. He is in a great position. Carson Wentz fucked it up. I don't think Matt Ryan's going to mess it up. I really don't. And I think that Matt Ryan is going to put the Colts in position to make a solid playoff run. Is the AFC division tough? Yes, it is very hard compared to the NFC. He left a very kind of cupcake conference. I think I said division, a cupcake conference. But in reality, it's not, because he was on the Falcons. But you get what I'm saying. Like, the NFC is much easier than the AFC. But even with that said, I think Matt Ryan is going to be very successful in fantasy football. Am I going to claim am I going to rank him inside the top 12? No. When you look back on the season, at the end of the year, it's 2023, you're looking back, would you be surprised if Matt Ryan was a top 10 quarterback? To me, no. So thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you did end up enjoying, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button. Follow me on Twitter if you want, at Notorious, FNTSY. Promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO, for up to a $100 deposit match bonus. Click the link in the description if you want as well. I love you guys all so much. Hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, good boy.